All right, folks. Welcome to this week's first commentary and market review. And here is the dollar index on the weekly time frame. And last week, we said a few things about DXY where I wanted to see the dollar index trade into. I mean, we went through the monthly time frame to observe price action on monthly chart, talking about the fact that the market took out previous monthly low, which could indicate longs on DXY since they've completely rebalanced this inefficiency here, and we have this gap here. But I'm looking at the weekly time frame. If we are going to be bullish on the monthly time frame, we need the weekly time frame to validate our monthly bias. And last week's trading doesn't, do justice to that. In fact, this by itself is leaving huge uncertainty for this week's price action because I don't know how dollar index is going to trade. Because you see, first off, we have clean levels here. Okay, you can see this low here, this low here. So at first, we're likely to see the market sell on the dollar index. Markets are likely, very likely to engage sell side here. But looking at the market engaged sell side here, and I'm bullish on the monthly time frame, but the weekly time frame isn't bullish. We are in consolidation, okay, a bearish consolidation with a bullish market structure because we have this low here, we have this high here, we have this high here, this high, and all of this price action, it makes it very complicated to actually define bias on a weekly basis, okay. And if I wanted to be bearish on DXY, because last week I talked about the fact that this would be my invalidation for my bullish bias, but you can see here the markets are still trying to stay above this imbalance here. Okay, so say the markets were completely below this imbalance, okay, we're likely to call for more sell side, probably maybe the rejection block here or the lows here, but we don't have that yet in price action. So what I'm currently seeing is that we have clean levels here, and markets are absolutely very likely to engage sell side here. Now, at the start of this particular week, there was a gap. You can see clearly on the daily time frame. We wanted to see dollar index run into relatively equal highs here, but the market opened with a huge gap. And for the start, during the start of the week, I completely disregard this price action because when I looked at capital.com, I wasn't seeing the same price action reflect. So I felt it was maybe it's just a glitch on brokerage and all of that. But looking back at price action and how the market traded in subsequent weeks or subsequent days, it's clear that this was actually significant because if this hadn't happened, we ought to have seen the market trade into buy side. So here was run above buy side and reaccumulation, redistribution into a premium. Okay, and that's very terrible because we aren't only dealing with consolidation, we're also dealing with varying price action across price feeds, which makes things super complicated. Because earlier this particular week, I was long on dollar index. I think on a Tuesday here, and I held Tuesday, Wednesday, and I got stopped out on this day. I mean, I just got stopped out because I was holding for objective here, and market never turned to objective. But looking back now and seeing taking that kind of loss after holding profit for 2 days, and it's completely terrible, very terrible. So this level here is clean. Okay, this lows here is clean. I think the initial focus for the new week will be to see the markets actually trading to sell side. I don't know if they have interest here because this level here also is clean. This low here is low resistance liquidity run. The markets may have interest here because I don't see any reason why the markets are just simply going to turn around here. And looking at the daily time frame here, I know we don't have that same price action on the weekly time frame, but you can see the market has completely rebalanced this inefficiency on the daily chart, right? So it's obvious that we are very likely to see markets trade into sell side here, and outside sell side, I do not know. I would like to convince myself that the markets could trade further, but it's it's actually difficult to make that call, right? I think just sell side here is what I can see, and I'm bullish on the monthly time frame. I mean, we covered the reason for the bullish bias last week, saying the markets could reach for you know this fair value gap here, which I still strongly believe the markets could reach for. And maybe the markets are looking to trade into the rejection block, because if we're in consolidation and this market has interest, possibly in a rejection block, and that could be the draw on internal range liquidity on dollar index. Say the markets are interested in trading to the rejection block, but beyond this level, because we have this low here, we have this high here, and market took a buy side here, so this level is high resistance. Okay, the markets should ideally struggle to trade below this low, ideally, and if we're bullish, the market should find continuation, at most the rejection block. But that's all I can actually say about price action currently. Markets are looking bearish, at least for the new week, into sell side and possibly more sell side, but I can't categorically define areas of levels I think the markets are absolutely gonna go. Okay, so most I can do is to say, okay, say we're gonna reach for the rejection block, and that's about it. That's at best I can define would be the rejection block. So say the opening, that's Monday, we could let me take out, I think these lines are no longer useful. Okay, so at most we could see the markets reaccumulate into discount. This is the rejection block on the monthly time frame. We have clean levels here for sell side, clean levels, and this is how I'm using to define my bias. And this level also here is also clean, so I think the markets may just go through here, and I think they could easily find their way through here, and that's about it. So on Euro USD weekly time frame, there's something I want to show. You can see there's a gap here, inefficiency here. There's an inefficiency here, institutional order flow entry drill, and we have the inversion of this level here. Okay, markets has inverted this gap here, so we could see market make a retest of here, and we have a swing low here, we have this low here, we have this lower low here, and we have this high here. So we have a swing low here, we have the inversion here, we have the entry drill here. So I'm thinking the markets could ideally aim for buy side here. So we're still within this type of range, and this range is about 60 pips, and it could even make more if the market opens return into this old fair value gap. Okay, say the market opens and returns into this old gap, so we have quite 89 pips for range, and that's about it. Anything more than this, I promise you, I simply cannot guarantee what the markets are going to do. The only reason why I'm blending in is because now on the weekly time frame we are both resistance level, okay, and we have price action on for sell side here. That's the institutional order flow entry drill, and markets are likely to target near-term objective at the very least. So this is what I'm eyeballing in the new week. Market takes out this high, and a retest of here sends us here, and that's about it. And the same thing with pound. We already discussed pound was bullish, had relative strength compared to euro, but I cannot exactly define objective except if we're looking at the bodies of the candles here. That's the rejection block, and which is near-term objective, and that's at best, that's what I can do. Anything more besides these levels, I absolutely do not know what the markets are going to do. Let me see. Okay, it's on the daily time frame. So daily chart, markets currently trading bullish, respecting this consecutive downward candles, and this one, so a retest of here takes us into buy side, and that should complete the move, and we just gonna wait and see what the market does. And it's the same thing with silver and gold. About last month or so, I think a couple months ago, I was thinking silver would have interest in this discount inefficiency, even though we're bullish on the high time frame. I know silver currently is in consolidation, right? But there's the rejection block here, and I was thinking the markets are going to trade into the rejection block, even if we're going to see longs or continuation, like a reaccumulation to discount, because they took out sell side here, markets were returning into discount. They kind of like inverted this inefficiency here, this fair value gap here, but market failed to trade into the rejection block, and they're returning into premium again. So I'm thinking near-term objective is buy side here, and we still have this bearish order block here, so we still are within resistance. Okay, so say they run into buy side here, into this bearish order block, we could actually see bearish silver. That's what I think, and this is the point I'm looking out for longs. If silver is not going to return into this discount inefficiency here, markets are in consolidation. You can see clearly on the monthly time frame. You can see there's an up candle here, there's a bullish fair value gap, and markets are just in between levels. Okay, so the only way we can qualify a bias long term if we're bullish is if we can see the candle, the markets trade above this down close candle. So it's like a change in the state in delivery, a bullish order block, and then we can validate continuation on silver. But for now, it's difficult to define where the markets are going to go, because silver and gold currently are heavily linked with dollar index for some reasons. They're trading side by side with DXY, and I'm bullish on dollar index, and that puts a question mark on silver. Until dollar index, my bias on DXY has been invalidated, or obviously, like I said, a run below this low here invalidates my bias. So long we're still within that frame, it's always possible for any bearish silver price action could really unfold. Anything could actually unfold on both ends. So same thing with gold. We are in consolidation clearly. After this whipsaw move here, I was thinking we had eyes for sell side here, and this particular month was indecisive, and they took out previous monthly low, so maybe likely to engage previous monthly high. I don't know, but these markets are not ideal. Okay, they're absolutely not ideal. Gold didn't trade inside this rejection block. That begs, are they gonna return here? I think they'll probably return here. So any move to the upside is likely going to be short-lived, because I think they are going to return here and all of that. So I really don't know what the markets are doing these days, but I still wanted to record the commentary, because we might have slightly varying opinions about this market, or I might say a thing or two about this market, and it makes sense for you and you can incorporate it in your own analysis. But current market condition, I think the only thing I can say to you is to reduce your trading frequency. Okay, and if you take a loss, but you took the loss based off of your model, I think it's still fair. But it's very easy very easy to spiral in markets like this, because you can't really have press a bias here, and markets are moving overnight, and markets are opening with huge gaps, and all of these things, it just makes it extremely difficult to trade. The only market that's one-sided is the equities market, and we don't talk about equities here. And I personally, I don't think I traded the S&P or Nasdaq this year. I think the last one I did was in December-ish. So I've not looked at those markets, but I don't know. So we're just going to see how markets opens and how markets trades, because I can't hold the things I even say, because I absolutely do not know what these markets are doing. I absolutely do not know. It's not a market to risk money. It's not a market you want to hard press on anything, and it's just a disgrace, and it's terrible. And I hope you found this one insightful. Regardless, until I talk to you next week, be safe.